Hey, this is Chris Miglino. I am at the world famous LD Micro Conference in Los Angeles, California. I am here with Arthur Sams from Polar Power, ticker symbol POLA. How you doing, Arthur? Good to see you.
Very well. How about yourself?
Very good. Thanks for joining us. I love the tie.
Oh,
Yeah, I guess that's what happens when you're from Southern California. You get a Mickey Mouse. Yeah, you get a Mickey Mouse tie. So, I was doing some reading on your business. It seems like you guys are in a pretty opportune space, providing. You're providing infrastructure for.
Providing cooling systems and power systems. So if you're a cell site, you need power to operate the equipment to make your cell phone work. If you're in the military, you need power for communications and for food preservation. Robotics is really popular in the Army right now, or the military overall. Robots will be taking place a lot of duties that soldiers used to fill. Interesting. Nice to reduce any potential mortality there. Let the robots handle it.
And so your systems are providing the cooling and power for that infrastructure.
They're providing the power and optionally cooling if they require it.
So give us an example of a real life situation. Like, what is it?
Okay. We just recently completed a job for the UNHCR. They had a compound of offices and apartments in a small town outside of Lagos, Nigeria. And they were
Reading on that one.
They were running out of power, or the grid was shutting down for about 20 to 30 hours each week. And they may have as many as 10 to 12 interruptions of power every day. It's kind of hard to run your operations when your computers keep shutting down and having to wait for the servers to reboot. So they were spending a lot of money on diesel fuel and diesel engine maintenance on the generators. So what we came in, we introduced to them a hybrid system. And this system would combine a little bit of solar and would store some of the power produced from the grid. It would absorb some of the utility line power. And then we provide a DC generator that would use diesel to also supply power if they had very long or extended blackouts.
And so you're actually taking power from the grid, putting it into the batteries, so it's more stable.
Yeah, and supplementing that power with solar,
right,
to reduce your fuel usage or reduce your utility usage.
And how do you guys get hired then? You bid on this job to come in and provide the entire solution?
We were contacted by UNHCR. And we were invited to bid on this application. And they reviewed a number of systems, and they chose ours. We were the most cost-effective solution, and that's why we feel that we've won the bid.
Interesting. And then now going forward, is each job individual and you have to come up with a custom model for each job?
No. There's a lot of similarities in the job. That same system that we did for Lagos, Nigeria, would work well in Rancho Palos Verdes, for example, from a lot of the homes that were cut off from utility service.
Is there homes in Rancho Palos Verdes that are cut off from utility service?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, it's a bit in the news. Yeah. There's landslides. Now, with the home movement, rather than risk any liabilities, it's easy for a utility company just to switch you off.
Interesting.
Just like in some of the areas in North Los Angeles or the Valley, where they run fire hazards.
How much of your business is residential versus commercial? And is it individual, like on the projects, do they tend to be individual projects at a time with your solution, or do you get kind of a national footprint of many different facilities.
Telecommunications, cell sites. We provide the power for cell sites.
Okay, that's a core business.
That's the core business. And it's a nationwide business. And what we do there is we provide the best means of getting power to the site with or without the grid so that you can effectively have cell phone service no matter where you go.
Interesting.
Now, that is, that would I say would be commercial business, military business. We do a lot of military work, and as I mentioned before, military robotics, providing means of powering forward operating bases or expeditionary forces. That's one thing. We also mentioned the HCR, which is essentially a group of offices and apartment building, but that's more or less a large client who has about 100 of these sites throughout the world. But in terms of selling retail, we're not set up for that yet.
Yeah. So now, just out of curiosity, because, in a cell tower, how much power does a cell tower consume in any given day?
Oh, that is a good question.
Right.
Oh, that's an exciting question. Imagine this. Right now, about 4% of the world's energy is going to power the cell site.
Really? Wow.
Imagine this. You have these generators consuming tens of billions of gallons of diesel a year to run these cell sites.
Wow.
And do you know how much pollution that is? I don't think too many people realize how much pollution your cell phone operator or operation contributes to global warming.
They don't have that in the news, right?
No.
Probably because Verizon owns a lot of media.
Or has. Well, it's globally. But here's the other thing. With increasing data services and AI, that consumption of the world's energy can go to 20%. So what we're trying to do is come up with cleaner technologies to run these sites.
Are you more efficient? Are you working with the AI infrastructure data centers and the...
We're looking at edge computing, whereas the cell sites are taking a lot of the data services.
Okay.
And in doing so, their energy requirements grow.
Like, is it possible for the sun to power cell towers fully? Or you're on the desert, if you're on the...
Yeah. Here's the other thing, another good question, is that if you try to power something 100% solar, your CapEx and your OpEx costs go very high. Actually, 100% solar systems can be not maintenance-free, but costly. And the reason is not the solar photovoltaic modules, but the batteries. The batteries becoming the biggest cost of the system. And at some point in time, be it 4 years, 5, 6, or 8 years, those batteries have to be replaced. So what we do is we say, look, use the right amount of solar and the right amount of fuel, and the cost of the fuel, it'll be less than the cost of your battery replacement.
So optimize the
Exactly. Optimize the package. And by doing so, you make more use of solar because the application becomes more feasible. There's a weird thinking. It's like, well, if I can't run the site 100% solar, then what's the point? I might as well just keep running my diesel engines. No, you're trying to offset your fuel. Now, if you offset your fuel enough, then it becomes practical to use clean fuels. So instead of using diesel, use propane. So it's the interrelationships between the application load and the technologies.
And so in your business, you're optimizing to the least amount of, or you're optimizing to the least cost, least impact to the environment.
That's right.
Okay, interesting. And then can your business like fit into a model where your people hiring you to do this is kind of offsetting their carbon credit side of things, where they're saying, look, we don't need to buy as many carbon credits because we're optimizing.
Here's the other thing is that in the 35 years or longer that we've been doing this, I never heard anyone give an interest in carbon credit.
All right.
Also, with all the push in these large corporations to do the right thing by going green and stuff like that, I've never seen them really commit to what they say they want to do.
Right. They're buying in another department that was not even associated.
Exactly. But here's the thing, though. Right now, with technology, including our technology, you can run clean fuel cheaper than diesel. So here you would be saving a huge amount of money on your installation because these sites burn an awful large amount of diesel every year. Here you have the opportunity to eliminate that diesel, reduce your carbon, reduce your maintenance, and reduce your fuel costs. That's a win-win-win condition.
Right.
But it requires a decision. It requires action, even though it's a positive effect to your bottom line. Now, that's still a hard sell.
And what's the breadth of the, you guys have released earnings through the second half of this year?
Yes.
Like what's the, or like what did you guys do last year in revenue, and where are you this year in the first half?
Well, that's when I bring in Luis, my numbers guy.
Well, just so you don't need to get specific, but just generals. Like
sales in the second and third quarter were significantly higher than last year.
Oh, that's good. So you're starting to see an impact.
Yes, of the we made profit or break even in these in these third quarter, fourth quarter. Last time we saw that was 2022.
Okay, so that must feel good.
Yeah,
it always feels good to be making money. I think most investors that are watching this probably like to hear that. And but it's a combination of kind of that flywheel of something that everybody needs, and the financials kind of being at that turning point. Because in the small cap world, all these companies tend to need money again and again and again to continue to operate. You never know when it's going to cross over that chasm, and everybody's looking for that deal, and it sounds like you are right there.
Just about. I started POLA in 1979.
Wow.
And we went public in 2016. So I had to run a company for decades without outside capital.
Right.
I did it.
And what was the core business in 79?
79, we started in business providing solar-powered vaccine refrigerators for the medical cold chain.
Even solar back then in 79.
Oh, we were doing solar even before that.
Right.
Was personal.
Wow.
But so we introduced it, and it was a way of vaccinating children in remote villages and in areas like in Arizona and Africa and Mexico and throughout the world.
You've seen the evolution of solar over time.
Oh, yes.
And so what happens between now and 80, let's see, what is that? That's 50 years ago now. That's almost 50 years, right? What happens in the next 50 years for solar?
Well, when I started with solar on some of my projects, let's say in 79, my cost of solar was about $16 a peak watt. And now my cost can get as low as 30 cents a peak watt.
Wow.
And what I predicted back then, I said, even if the solar was free, it wouldn't be widely used because of lack of sufficient system integrators. You just can't put solar on a roof and tie it to the grid and everybody's happy. You have to solve for other issues. And until that's done, solar would still be, solar, wind, and maybe 20, 30% of grid power or whatever. You have to create more robust systems that don't have as much maintenance. And a lot of solar systems have the maintenance of the battery, maintenance of the controls, but mainly the battery. Solve for the battery, and things get very, very good for solar. Be able to integrate the application into the solar. For example, instead of having a solar module, a charge controller, a battery, an inverter, and an AC air conditioning unit, just run the AC air conditioning directly on the solar and skip the batteries. That's a higher level. That's a higher level integration. Reduces costs, improves reliability, and now you can have solar air conditioning for schools. Now, if you require air conditioning at night, instead of trying to double the size of the array and triple the size of the battery bank so you can run it at night, I'll do that. Burn a little fuel, clean fuel. So it's that concept that has to get out there in order to reach the next evolution of solar systems. And should be solar hybrid systems well integrated with the application.
Right. So it's the hybrid nature of it that you guys are promoting.
And the integration with the application load.
Now, you keep finding new, there's clean fuels that are becoming much more prevalent.
Yes.
And there's enhancements in solar, but I've seen some interviews with Elon Musk where he says, like, we're going to hit a peak on what can be generated out of solar. Do you agree with that? Do you think that's going to keep enhancing and generating more power out of solar panels?
We will get more and more solar to meet our needs when it gets integrated completely with the application.
And what about battery tech? Is that getting better?
Oh, yes.
So do you think battery tech has the best opportunity to accelerate out of all three of these areas? Or do you think that the clean fuel area, which one?
They have to go hand in hand.
It has to.
Imagine this. You had various battery technologies for a long time, maybe 100 years. But the ones that are in production were the lead acid, the iron batteries, NiCad batteries, for storage batteries. But it took a few car manufacturers to commit to quantity before you had the explosion of the lithium-ion batteries. It took a number of hand tools and laptops and stuff like that to explode the use of the smaller lithium-ion batteries. So as the cars and automobiles and demand for the batteries grow, so does the opportunity to fund, develop, and sell new battery technology. So the solid lithium-ion battery shows great promise, but they have to go hand in hand with power generation, because a lot of people confuse battery technology with power generating technology. Because once you use up the charge in the battery, you have to recharge it. That power has to come from somewhere. Where does that power come from?
Either the clean fuel or the solar.
I mean, I've seen silly applications where, you remember when you had those fires caused by faulty line transmission equipment, and the company got sued? So what they do is during fire season or high fire hazards, they shut off power to these homes.
Right.
The California politicians are saying, well, you know what? These guys got to get battery banks. They don't realize the size of a battery bank to keep a home going for a few days.
Right.
With the air conditioner, you're talking about filling the garage up with $150,000 worth of batteries. But there will be a time in the future where it won't cost that much, just like the solar. And the batteries can shrink in size and with cost, just like the solar did. And then the solar can charge those new super duper batteries.
And then what else do you see as kind of like the next frontier of evolution in this space? Like, besides what we know today, the batteries and the solar, well, what's here next?
Here are the resistant parts.
Okay.
Sales distribution.
Right.
You have to understand technology in order to sell it. Where you have more and more individuals failing to understand the depth of the application and the depth of the technology. You have to have people be able to repair and install it. And this is where you're facing great shortages of technicians to be able to carry this work out.
Who's coming?
We have to work on that.
Even if the tech is amazing, you need tech. You need technicians.
What you have to do is figure out a way of breeding more of them.
Right.
I don't think cloning is there yet.
Well, maybe you can figure that out at your next company. Really, but well, Arthur, it's really a pleasure to meet you. I really appreciate the conversation. I enjoyed it, and so it's for our audience out there. It's Polar Power, POLA. Check it out. It's utilizing a multi-hybrid approach to solving energy issues across the globe. So check out the company, put it on your ticker screen, and thank you very much.
Thank you. It was fun.